This summer, we left Indiana and headed out west. We flew from Indianapolis to Seattle, Washington. On our way, we crossed the mountains in the west, and it was awesome to see the snow-covered peaks. We then flew right over Seattle and were able to see the Space Needle before landing at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Seattle is home to one of the largest airplane manufacturers in the world, and that company is named Boeing. It is located real close to the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, and their airport is a very busy airport. This is us taxiing to our jetway. After we left the airport, we went and got our rental car and then headed south to Manzanita, Oregon. It was about a 4-hour trip, and it was a beautiful drive along the coast. This is the house we rented for the week. It was right on the beach, and that evening we headed there with the rest of our family and watched the beautiful sunset. That is one thing I will definitely miss about Oregon, was every night standing on the beach or sitting at our picture window in our house and just watching the sunset. It was an amazing sight to see. This is a little glimpse of the house. This is the entryway and the stairs that go up to the main living area. You entered the house through this awesome lime green door. That was a door that was very memorable. We had a media room, and often at night we would watch movies, and there was also a game room with some basketball, an arcade, and a pool table. The kitchen was humongous. It had 2 islands, a large refrigerator, multiple sinks. It was just great. And here's the living room and a view that we had of the ocean. And like I said, just standing at that picture window and looking at the ocean and the sunsets was just an amazing way to end the day. The next morning, we got up early and headed to a state park that was a little bit north of Manzanita, and we hiked on several different trails. Most of the trails were right along the Pacific Ocean, and right along the ocean were just great cliffs that would drop off into the rocks and the water below. It was an amazing area and beautiful scenery, but not a place to go if you were scared of heights. And in fact, Erica and Jory did not like the heights much, and so we had a picture of them sitting way away from the cliffs. After that, we crossed the road and headed up to a mountain summit. It was a beautiful hike through this area that was kind of like a rainforest. We got to the top and we were able to see some amazing views. It looked like that you could see for miles. We stayed up there for quite a while and rested, but eventually the clouds rolled in and it got to the point where it looked like it was going to storm. The rain started, and so we decided to head back down the mountain. On the way down, we did stop and take a few pictures along the way. And then we also ran into some wildlife that you would see in rainforests, some slugs and snails. That evening, we went back to the house, and I got in the hot tub for a while, and then we headed out for dinner. It was a wonderful place, and we had a great visit and spent time with family. On the way home, we were greeted by a rainbow and then another stunning sunset. And this is always a great way to end the day. The area kind of reminded me of what I think Ireland would look like, with these rolling green sand dune hills. The next day was Erica's 50th birthday, and so we decorated the house with the black and gold balloons and a big 50 sign. After celebrating her birthday that morning, we then loaded up and headed south to Tillamook, Oregon. Tillamook is the name of the town, but it is also the name of the company that makes the greatest ice cream in the world and also cheese. We spent a rainy morning in Oregon touring this factory and watching them as they processed and made cheese. We went by their wall of dairy pails that had information on creameries and then visited the gift shop. We were then able to sit in some of the Tillamook delivery vans. These were these little yellow vans that in the old days they used to deliver their product. We ate lunch there and then had some ice cream, and then we headed a little further south to an area that was another rainforest area that had a pretty cool waterfall. We stayed at this waterfall for quite some time. It was amazing to see how tall the trees were in this area, and the video and the pictures just don't even do it justice. This area had a little stream that was very beautiful and peaceful, and we stayed and walked along this stream for a while. Then we headed back up toward Manzanita, and we followed this little winding river along the way. And during some of the scenic spots, we stopped and got out and took some pictures and videos. It was beautiful and peaceful, and we were glad that the rain had finally stopped for that day. I think these first couple days in Oregon wore everyone out. The next day, though, was one of my favorites. We headed to Astoria, Oregon. Astoria is this beautiful town that's right on the Pacific Ocean, and it is one of the film capitals of the world. I never realized how many movies were actually filmed in Oregon. We stopped by and visited the Oregon Film Museum. It was this little building that was used as a jail in the movie Goonies, and they have turned it into this wonderful film museum. And so while you're there, there are different areas where you can take pictures and kind of act like you were in some of the movies that were filmed in Oregon. They had all these posters of all these movies that were filmed in Oregon as well. They also had a couple of actual film sets set up, and you could try your hand at acting.
You've been gone. Yeah, I was out of town for a couple of days. Personal reasons.
Here we go.
Pro phase. Good job, Charles. Oh my gosh, are y'all alright? Are you okay? Come on. I'm so sorry.
Voices. 22nd Avenue. Voices. Where are the voices? Are they?
Come on, hospital.
Are those in my wait? Hey, wait.
Can you wiggle your toes?
Yeah. Wait. Pull over. Pull over. And get out of the car. You need to pull over.
You don't have to get all huffy about it.
As you can see, some of us were definitely better at acting than others. We were also able to take some more pictures and then go into the actual jail cell where the movie Goonies was filmed. And that was quite fun to do. We then spent a little bit more time walking through the building and looking at some of the other exhibits and things that they had. One of my favorite movies, though, that was filmed in Astoria, Oregon was Kindergarten Cop. I just loved Arnold Schwarzenegger and his acting in this movie. We finished by editing some of the clips that we had videoed earlier. And then we headed out and went by the grade school where Kindergarten Cop was filmed. But we couldn't leave Astoria before seeing the Goonie House. After eating lunch in Astoria, we then headed out of town. We stopped at Fort Stevens State Park, and this was a state park that's right on the Oregon coast where the Pacific Ocean meets the Columbia River. There were many shipwrecks in this area in the past, and we had to stop and visit one of these. We went further south and then stopped at Ecola State Park. This is also an area where the movie Goonies was filmed. And the summer we were in Oregon was the 36th anniversary year of the movie Goonies, and we got a little pin to commemorate that. We walked along the beach at Ecola State Park for quite a while. The beaches in Oregon were just amazing, and oftentimes you felt like you had the whole area to yourself. The beaches also had these rock formations that would just jet out into the Pacific Ocean, and they were beautiful to look at. It was just so peaceful. After walking along the beach for a while, we decided to stop and take some pictures. And here's just a few samples of the pictures that we took. We then headed back to our house in Manzanita, Oregon. It is a beautiful drive, and the Pacific Highway 101 that goes down the coast of Oregon is one of the most beautiful highways and scenic highways in the world. That night we built a little campfire at our house and had a little cookout. It was wonderful spending some time with family. After that, the ladies took a little dance lesson, and they were about as good as that as they were at acting.
Okay. And then after this, you go like this. Down. Like sway. Sway. Sway your hips.
Is Jake out here?
No,
I just texted him. And then right arm. Slip. Left arm out.
Left, and then in, and I'm Charleston. Okay, so I'm still
You have to do the opposite.
I know. You have to turn around so we can have to do the opposite. There we go.
No,
Are you supposed to be in it?
Oh.
So can I just copy you?
Yeah, you do it like turn around the other
Okay,
way.
ready? You turn this way so you can't
Yes.
step in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Oh, 3, 2, we're scoop good first.
Scoop. Which way, to the right or left?
Left. Down my body.
Flick. Flick. Cross your arms.
Cross arms.
Cross your arms.
Now do freestyle.
Go slow.
We then took some pictures again with the beautiful Oregon sunset as our backdrop. It was amazing. And then the kids ran through the dunes and headed back to the beach. Seems like every night we ended the night at the beach. Here is another example of one of those beautiful Oregon sunsets. The next day we went on another hike, and this time we went and visited Devil's Cauldron. This is a large cliff that just drops down into the Pacific, and there's this area of the ocean that just churns below. And then we took another trail and went on a hike and headed to Short Sand Beach. It was a beach that is located in Oswald State Park. And it was a very rocky beach, but a very beautiful beach. And so we stopped there for a while and just was amazed by the views there. We took some pictures, just hung out, played in the water, kind of waded in the water for a while, and just had some great time there. After spending that time on the beach, then we headed back up the hill and made our way and kind of hiked back. But along the way, there were some beautiful stops, and we took some pictures. You just couldn't get enough of the scenery that is just along that Oregon coast. That afternoon, we headed to Cannon Beach. Cannon Beach is a wonderful community in Oregon, and there the most famous thing is Haystack Rock. Cannon Beach was recently named one of the best beaches in America. That night we had supper at a hardware store, and then on the way home we stopped at Hug Beach, and so we had to take a picture hugging. We played on Hug Beach for a while, and again it seemed like we had the whole area to ourselves. Every beach in Oregon was just spectacular. Some of them had these waterfalls that would these creeks would drain down and run into the Pacific Ocean, and every beach just had something that was unique and amazing, and the views were just fabulous. I'm going to quit talking now and just let you enjoy some of the beautiful scenery of Hug Beach. This area is actually called Hug Point State Recreation Area. And as we were getting ready to leave, the kids found this big stick or log kind of, and we had a ball, and they decided to play a quick game of baseball. One of the things that they learned was it was hard to hit a ball with like a 6 foot long stick. And so all the kids took multiple attempts at this. Finally though, eventually, someone finally hit the ball. It didn't go very far, but at least they made contact. After finishing the game, we headed back to our house in Manzanita. And here is a picture of the outside. It was a beautiful modern house. The next day, we went into town and rented bicycles. And we decided to ride bicycles all around Manzanita. There was also a little state park within a quarter of a mile of the house that we rented, and we rode our bicycles through this state park as well. Riding bikes through this Oregon coastal town was fun. They were very colorful, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and we enjoyed it a lot. We also ran into some wildlife as we were out on our bikes, and they weren't afraid, these deer weren't afraid to get real close to us. And again, on our bike ride, there were some stunning views, and we rode along many bodies of water and right along the coast. One of the things I will never forget about our time in Oregon was just the beautiful scenery. It seemed like there were just beautiful views around every corner. We've always heard that Oregon is a very rainy place, but when we were there, we only really had one day where it was rainy and cold. Every other day was just beautiful. One of the problems that we had was my bike often had the chain fall off. It happened probably 6 or 8 times. So eventually I took it back to the bike shop and got it replaced. On the way back from the bike shop, we rode back to our house right along the big beach. The sand was so hard and compacted, it was almost like riding on a cement or a highway. And it was very fun riding on the beach, and we had a great time. I couldn't have thought of a better place to be riding a bike. It was just amazing, the scenery that we had there. And again, that night we ended our day on the beach, this time playing baseball. We had a little bit better bat, and so the ball was easier to hit. The next day we headed back to Oswald State Park and went on a few other hikes and saw some other areas of this beautiful state park and this beautiful Oregon coast. Oregon is definitely a state that I would like to return to again at some point. There are so many other areas of this state that I would still like to explore, and some of these areas that we went to I would love to come back again and see more of in the future. But our time ended and we had to leave. Oregon, until next time, you were good to us.